all the Republican presidential candidates, none fascinates like Rand Paul, the permanent outsider in a world where being on the inside usually makes all the difference. The isolationist who can explain how America actually gets better and is more respected by not sending troops overseas, and who, despite being Republican, is convinced libertarianism is the only best future for America. He may not be crushing in the polls, in some he barely registers. But the Kentucky senator maintains a robust campaign schedule armed with a number of young and very intelligent supporters who believe they are the ones seeing the fog of political misdirection. I sat down with Senator Paul and led with foreign policy. He's an isolationist, believing America would be better off keeping our nose out of other countries. But how does one balance national security, isolationism, and humanitarianism at a time when wanton killers are butchering innocents all around the world? Let's go straight up and one-on-one with Senator Rand Paul. The president has announced that 5,500 troops are going to stay in Afghanistan. This as we have women fleeing from the Taliban. We have reports of people having their heads cut off. It is a brutal time there. You certainly are one, and you told college kids recently that you are not going to be the one to send them to war. You are a non-interventionist. How can we, though, as a nation, not go in and help these people, morally speaking, to save people from being so executed?
Well, we might just start by obeying the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't give the president the power to go to war. We went to war after 9/11 to defeat the people who came in and attacked us on 9/11. I was for that. If I had been here, I would have voted for that. That mission's long over. Now, this is a new mission. The mission is to build a nation where there is no nation and has never been a nation, frankly. Afghanistan is a conglomeration of various tribes. They don't even speak the same language. They obey local chieftains. They're just not really a country. And we're not very good at nation building. But the bottom line is it's not constitutional to go to war or to deploy thousands of troops in another country to build a nation without a vote on it. Congress should vote on this. The Constitution gave that power to initiate or declare war specifically to Congress and not to the president, precisely for this purpose, so we wouldn't have eternal war around the globe. There'll always be a war. There's always a war somewhere, and there's always some sympathy for those who are losing the war or on the wrong end of the war, but we just can't be in every war, and we don't have any money. You know, we're having to borrow money from China to spend it in Afghanistan. So it's not a very conservative notion, nor is it a wise decision.
But what about those who say we have a moral obligation to save the lives of the people? And many people will say, we started it, so we've got the obligation to go in and help.
If you feel a moral compunction to go and fight against the Taliban, you should not be prevented from going over there if you want to go over there. So the people who feel that are welcome to go. But it isn't making any sense. We aren't going to make a nation out of there. We've spent more money in Afghanistan than the Marshall Plan. That's a lot of money. We spent $1 trillion in Iraq. It's a disaster too. Maybe we should think before we get involved in chronic civil wars in other nations. I talked to a Navy SEAL not too long ago. He's been in 19 years, and he and I had dinner, and he said, you know what? We can go anywhere in the world. We can kill anyone you want. We can do anything you want. We can extract anyone you want, anywhere in the world, anytime. But he said, you know when we make the mistake? When you ask us to plant our flag and create an American nation or an outpost somewhere. He said, let's commit war when we have to, but let's don't be in the nation building business. And I agree with him.
Is that not, though, the point, though? Don't go in, don't try to build a nation, but at least try to set something right here. Try and save the lives of millions of people.
No, I think our objective should be to defend American interests. So you have to define what is in American interest. Throughout the existence of the Soviet Union, they killed millions of their people, but we didn't choose to have a world war with Russia in order to save those people. It was tragic. Stalin killed millions and millions of people, and we shouldn't help that. We shouldn't support it in any way. We shouldn't finance it in any way. But there's not always an American interest. Mao Zedong, he killed millions of Chinese. But did we have the wherewithal, capacity, or moral obligation to save those Chinese? I think it's terrible what autocrats and dictators do around the world. Well, we can't always be everywhere all the time, and nor do we have the money to do it.
What about those who say, though, that if we're not there, it won't help. People will still die. And if we're not there, the nations will continue to totter. They will continue to crumble. And then that will hurt us eventually down the road here in America and lead to things possibly like another 9/11.
I guess the question would be, if we are there, have we made it better? Toppling Gaddafi in Libya, was that a good idea or a bad idea? Did it make the nation more safe or secure? Did it make it less likely that they will attack us? I think it's more likely now in the failed state of Libya that radical Islam will rise, which it is, and that we will be attacked from Libya because we intervened there. So sometimes we get the opposite. For example, in Syria, should we have sent all those weapons in to Islamic rebels who hate us and hate Israel as well? Many of them who have said when they're done with Assad, they're going to attack Israel and take the Golan Heights back. Should we give weapons to those people? And really, are we better off if Assad's gone and ISIS rules in Damascus? Had we bombed Assad, like the interventionists on both sides of the aisle wanted to do, and I opposed, I think today ISIS would be in Damascus and they would rule all of Syria. So people need to be happy that I'm here in the Senate and that I'm providing a voice for saying, let's don't be reckless. Let's see war as the last resort, and let's consider what are American interests, not just thinking we can be everything to everyone all the time.
This just part one of our straight-up one-on-one interview with Senator Rand Paul. It will continue this week right here on the Hotline, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. Wait till you hear what he has to say about Donald Trump later this week.